Under the starlight, Xing and Han Ting chat softly. Xing comments on how small humans seem compared to the vast universe. Han Ting recognizes these words, remembering that during their senior year of high school, their group won a physics competition. Xing used these same words in her acceptance speech. Han Ting repeats Xing's speech from that day. After finishing the grassroots project, Xing returns. She has decided to work in 3D printing. On the phone, Xing tells Han Ting that Dongyang is a great company, but she has chosen to start her own business instead. Yichun returns and surprises Xing with his arrival. They fell in love during university and are now getting ready to buy a new house. Xing holds Yichun in high regard and feels confident, already considering him her life partner. In the evening, she invites her friends over for a small gathering. They are expecting a wedding announcement, but are surprised when Xing instead reveals her decision to start her own business. Her friends warn her that starting a business might be more challenging than she realizes. Nevertheless, Yichun supports her fully, even giving her the down payment he saved to use as startup capital, which deeply touches Xing. Her friends are all envious of Xing for having such an amazing boyfriend like Yichun, and Xing agrees with them. After some reflection, she quietly returns the bank card to Yichun's coat pocket. The next day, Xing finalizes her resignation. Han Ting tries once more to persuade her to join Dongyang Medical. Xing appreciates Han Ting's offer, but remains firm in her decision to focus on starting her own business at the moment. Su Zhizhou borrows a large warehouse from his father to serve as their startup's office. He had hoped his father would also give them a generous amount of startup capital, but he is disappointed to find there is no financial support. Instead, Xing steps in and gives Su Zhizhou the 400,000 yuan she had saved. After a busy day of organizing, she returns home and tells Yichun about all the progress they made. Han Ting closely monitors Xing's progress. He learns that she has secured an office space, obtained a business license, and begun seeking financing from investors. With his experience, Han Ting understands the challenges of obtaining financing and anticipates that Xing will encounter many setbacks. When Xing receives Tang Song's call, she refuses again. However, Su Zhizhou reminds her not to overlook Han Ting, a wealthy and resourceful business mogul. He suggests that if Han Ting invests in their project, it could be highly beneficial. At Su Zhizhou's insistence, Xing agrees to take him to meet Han Ting and discuss financing. When Han Ting hears about Xing's plans, he gets straight to the point. He tells her that Dongyang Medical is interested in a 3D printing project and offers her the chance to lead it. This would come with Dongyang's strong financial and sales support. While Han Ting's proposal is very appealing, Xing still declines. She is determined to start her own business and create something completely on her own. After leaving Dongyang, Su Zhizhou thinks about the great offer Han Ting made. He is regretful and thinks Xing should rethink her decision. If their project works out, they can gain experience and build connections before launching something new. Xing is upset that Su Zhizhou is so quick to change his mind. It's their first joint project, how can they just give up so easily? Han Ting has made careful plans and believes that with some patience Xing will face challenges in her startup, and eventually turn to Dongyang for support. When Xing gets home, she reviews the notes on Han Ting's proposal that she saw earlier. She notices that some of Han Ting's ideas are really useful, pointing out even minor issues. Yishao advises Han Ting to express his feelings sooner, saying that keeping them a secret isn't effective. However, Han Ting replies that it's not just about feelings. Han Ting believes Xing's 3D printing project is outstanding and thinks she has a lot of talent. When Xing's friends come to visit her office, Su Zhizhou is impressed by Li Li. Later, Xing's friend Qiu Zi mentions she has a blind date the next day and asks if they can join her to make it less awkward. She also says that the guy works in medical industry, which could be useful later. Xing is intrigued and agrees to go with her. It turns out that the blind date is actually Han Ting's cousin Lin Jia. Han Ting's aunt insisted that her son go on the date, and to make sure he doesn't leave early, she has Han Ting keep an eye on him until it's done. Xing arrives a little late and bumps into Han Ting at the hotel. After turning him down the day before, Xing purposely says she's there to meet with an investor. Xing heads toward the private room, only to find that it's the same room Han Ting is in. He sarcastically comments that he thought Xing was there to meet an investor. Xiaomeng quickly tries to help Xing by saying she's been looking for investors lately and has encountered many unreliable ones, including a particularly shameless one who tried to poach her. Xiaomeng is describing Han Ting without realizing he's the one she's talking about, leaving Xing feeling very embarrassed. Meanwhile, Qiuzi isn't impressed with the blind date guy. Back at home, they're curious about the kind of guy Qiuzi likes, given her high standards. Qiuzi admits she prefers someone gentle and considerate. Xiaomeng teasingly says her ideal type seems to be like Yichun. Yichun brings lunchboxes to Xing office, and everyone there compliments Xing handsome boyfriend. The product is coming along, but the printer hasn't arrived yet. Su Zhizhou suggests renting a printer in the meantime, instead of buying a new one. Li helps Xing find an investor. Because of a schedule clash, Xing asks Su Zhizhou to go to the meeting instead. It's Su Zhizhou's first time meeting a client, so he's quite nervous. But with Li there, he feels a bit more comfortable. To his surprise, the investor Li found is more interested in flirting than in business. During the negotiation, Su Zhizhou realizes that the terms he suggested are much tougher than they expected, causing the deal to fall through. As they leave, Su Zhizhou notices the investor putting his arm around Li. They then run into the investor's wife, who misunderstands the situation and says some harsh words to Li. Instead of helping to clear things up, the investor badmouths Li. As his wife is about to slap Li grabs her hand and instead slaps the investor. She feels he deserved it for being so shameless. Su Zhizhou is deeply impressed by her boldness. After saying goodbye to Su Zhizhou, Li heads to a nightclub and meets a charming bad boy. They have some drinks, dance, and spend the night together. The next morning Li gets a call saying she's been fired, but she takes it in stride and isn't bothered. After a brief chat with her partner from the night before, Li leaves without swapping phone numbers. She has no clue that the person she spent the night with is Yishao. To mark their 4th anniversary, Xing and Yichun go to a concert, where they unexpectedly run into Han Ting and Zheng Di. Xing introduces Yichun, and Han Ting feels down when he finds out that Xing is already in a relationship. During the concert Xing has to leave abruptly for work. When Xing finally comes back, Yichun surprises her with a ring and proposes. Although Xing accepts the ring, she explains that, given the crucial time in her career, she's not ready to get married right now. Su Zhizhou reaches out to a college classmate and pays a large deposit for a printer, but the person disappears, causing them to lose 300,000 yuan. Xing had even borrowed 100,000 yuan from Li. With no other financing options available, Su Zhizhou reluctantly goes to see Han Ting, showing him their product in hopes that Han Ting can help with the funding. Han Ting advises Su Zhizhou to rethink the earlier proposal. Due to several days of intense work and irregular meals, Xing collapses at work. Her colleague quickly informs Su Zhizhou, and Han Ting hears about it too. Both rush to the hospital to see Xing. Han Ting is deeply affected by seeing her in such a state and urges Su Zhizhou to find a solution quickly. Xing wakes up to see Li next to her. She remembers that she borrowed 100,000 yuan from Li, which is now gone, and feels upset. Li reassures her, saying there's no need to stress because the company is still new and not out of business yet. Xing turns on her phone and notices many missed calls from Yichun. She learns that Yichun's father was caught up in a fraud case, and Yichun had to rush back to his hometown to deal with it. Xing feels guilty for not being able to help him. After a short break, Xing dives back into work. With no progress on securing funds, she tells her employees that their salaries will be delayed by just a few days. As the company faces serious difficulties, Su Zhizhou can't keep going and urges Xing to think about working with Han Ting. With his strong support, future development and implementation would go smoothly. While they're considering this, Xing unexpectedly gets an invitation from Han Ting's cousin. Tang Song informs Han Ting about his cousin's actions and suggests they should step in right away. He points out that Su Zhizhou and Xing are on the verge of collapse and might view the invitation as a lifeline. Han Ting disagrees. He believes that entrepreneurship is full of tough challenges that demand strong willpower and clarity. If Xing doesn't have this insight, she'll likely struggle to succeed in the future. Xing and Su Zhizhou go to negotiate. Han Ting cousin proposes investing 20 million yuan, but wants just over a third of the company's shares. When Xing asks if the original team will stay the same, the cousin doesn't give a clear answer. Xing starts to have doubts. He tells Xing not to worry about the future, and to accept the investment to keep the company running. Xing thinks Su Zhizhou's view is too narrow. She looks into Han Ting cousin's previous investments and sees a pattern. She often gains control by financing companies, quickly diluting their equity, and then taking over. After weighing all the options, Xing rushes to her and turns down the financing offer. After Tang Song informs Han Ting about Xing's decision, Han Ting quickly goes to see her. His offer is similar to his cousin's, but he promises that Xing's team will stay intact. With this guarantee, Xing feels assured and agrees. Xing goes to the airport to pick Yichun up. Yichun, who has always supported Xing's career, is genuinely happy for her when he hears the good news. Han Ting gives Xing the contract, and as she signs it, he notices a diamond ring on her finger. Han Ting feels a mix of emotions. Xingchen Company secures the financing successfully, and everyone is excited to show their skills in the upcoming work. Li Li brings invaluable information from the medical equipment sector. Each time Su Zhizhou sees her, he feels a fresh admiration and starts to pursue her. Even though she turns him down, he stays hopeful. Yichun and Xing have dinner together. As he listens to her excitedly talk about work without bringing up marriage, he feels a bit let down. Later, Xing invites Yichun to watch a movie and promises to visit his parents once things settle down. Yichun shifts the topic and encourages her to focus on the movie.